Students, today we will learn story writing. It is also an important part from the perspective of examination. In examination these days, actually, in writing sections, story writing, you have to write a writing question based on story writing is asked actually, and story writing is two sort of story writing is generally asked. Students, you already know what a story is. You all have been reading the story from the very first class. So actually, since you were in class 1, so actually, now you have to write a story, you have to construct a story yourself. So actually, student, story writing is actually a story is a student actually a narration, where we narrate something fictitious, a fictitious event, and which is generally the childish stories are actually generally contain a moral message. It conveys a moral message. So actually, story writing is just it's not necessary that you will always narrate a fictitious story. You can actually base your story on some real student also, lessons also. There are many types of stories, tales, lessons, so but here, the stories that you have to write in the examination, those stories are actually based on given outlines, or actually the beginning, the main theme is given to you, and you have to just construct the ideas further, what you want to add in that, and it is generally checked that how you respond in to a given. First and all, we will see the format of a story. Students, generally, here the stories that you have to write are actually you have to write according to a given outline, or students, the format of a story is such as actually it is divided into three parts. The first, the context is actually the beginning of a story. In this, actually, you use, in childish stories generally we use the phrases like once upon a time and long ago. You all have heard, you all have read the stories which begins with these context, these phrases. Once upon a time there was a lion in a dense forest, like that, a long ago. There were a tortoise and a rabbit, and one day they were friends actually, and one day they decided to have a race. So actually, we generally start with these phrases, and then actually the plot we construct, not only plot, but we also construct, the we introduce our characters of the stories, and dialogue and narration in the stories. And then actually you have to, create a narration and a dialogue between your characters, among your characters. And then you will the plot of the story is the whole description of the event, or the whole everything that you want to describe. The stories are actually of two types. The conversational story, the story in which the characters of a story just talk with each other. And then the story, then there are such stories in which you just describe everything from the beginning to end, and for that you make a plot. So a story is actually generally written in two ways. The first, in the first person, in which you are the narrator of the story, you narrate everything. And the second is actually in its in third person, where you read the story from a third person's point of view.